We're going to do a little bit of a review of where we started 4 years ago. We're going to walk a little bit through our major developments. And then we're going to spend some time talking about our very innovative Keysprint Soft product. We're going to talk about qualitative differences. We're going to talk about workflow efficiencies. And ultimately, we're going to talk about value to the lab and the doctor from a profit and essentially financial position. So Keystone has been in the manufacturing business since the 70s. Keystone as a dental business has been around about 100 years. We are very heavily focused on polymer and polymer technologies, including our dental and our nail side of our business. The dental business has about 4,000 SKUs, operatory, preventive, digital, and of course the lab space. We have 400,000 square feet of manufacturing, ISO certified, FDA drug manufacturing in 2 sites in New Jersey and 1 site in Pennsylvania. Everything is made in the USA, it's in stock, and we can get it out to people really, really quickly. So we brought a lot of experience and infrastructure to this project, and let's talk a little bit about how we did this. So January 16th, 2016 was the birth of Keyprint. We literally, many faces in this room were in a conference room doing a brainstorming session about opportunities for our businesses, threats to our businesses, ways we could get creative about things we do well, and how to leverage our strengths. And one of the ideas was 3D printing. This is literally the brainstorming sheet from that session. It's really interesting to read 4 years later and to see how little we knew 4 years ago, and maybe not even identifying the right issues, but how we started to think about that there was an area for us to play in. We saw the marketplace. Now, these statistics are generally developed over the last 3 years or so, but all the market data shows you that you've got an extreme growth curve in 3D printing and dental. The $1 billion number here is everything in the workflow. So from design, software, hardware, resins, post-cure, the market is blowing up. North America is the fastest growing market. And at this point, recent studies have shown you got about 35 to 40% labs have at least 1 printer at this point. Some have 2, 3, and 4. Dental offices are starting to adopt a little bit of a lower rate. They're dipping their toe in the water. They're at about 13% right now, according to some recent studies. I believe this was in IDT magazine a couple months ago. So 2 years ago, this show, we launched our Keyprint line. So it took us about 2 years to concept, develop, test, commercialize, and come up with some marketing positions. And we launched 2 years ago, starting to tell people about what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it. We kept advancing this, deepening partnerships, working with printer companies, working with dealers, working with labs, getting them to understand what we are doing and how we are innovating new and innovative materials, including at IDS last year, where we first revealed our Keysprint Soft to the marketplace. We expected FDA clearance within a couple months. Couple months dragged and dragged and dragged, as FDA will do. As Dr. Owen just said, you were doing a good job building buzz. But we got there on November 15th, 2019. This was a big event for our company. Thus far, the FDA has only cleared 3D printing materials to go in the body for a handful of applications from a handful of companies. You have about 4 denture bases that are cleared, along with the tooth material, and you've got 2 splint materials. Whitmix's VeriSplint, which is a very hard splint, and Keystone's Keysprint Soft, which is a very, very different product than anything else that's out there. We're going to review some of those attributes in a minute. So starting in November, we really hit the market very hard with this product. We are now cleared Europe, Canada, Australia, and the United States. We're growing, growing, growing. This is an interesting study. This was a report commissioned by the Key Group out of Baltimore. And they took a look at a lot of aspects of digital dentistry in the lab space. From what lands with labs, what do they find compelling in doing their buying, what are the resin companies doing, what's happening in CAD/CAM, what are the most prevalent attributes. This slide was really interesting because yes, we know that Most of the materials still being run through the printer companies, and by the way, we're working with those printer companies too. But from an open source platform standpoint, which is Keystone's philosophy, to work open source with as many open source printers as possible to give the benefit to the consumer of working with their choice of materials, in just 2 years, Keystone's become the leading open source resin in the marketplace. So let's talk a little bit about Keysplint Soft, what makes it so different and why it's so valuable across the value chain. For me, one of the things I love about this product is it is a win for everyone. It is a win for Keystone. It is a win for the printer partners. It is a win for our dealers. It's a win for the labs, the docs, and the patients. Everyone in the value chain either makes out very well financially, or they have an excellent product being delivered that does something that no other product can do out there. So let's start looking a little bit about what makes the product so special. We're going to overview device qualities, then we're going to talk about the workflow efficiencies for the lab or the doctor, and then we're going to look at dollars and cents. All right, so what makes it so special from a performance standpoint? There's unique patent-pending technologies, chemistry. That is what makes this so unique and different. This product combines the strength you need to withstand the forces of bruxism and to treat TMJ and TMD, but it's flexible, and inside the body at body temperature, it softens, it grabs the undercuts, it doesn't create a lot of pressure on the teeth. It is unlike any other splint material, traditional thermoform 3D printed. And the biggest thing that we achieved that all the other 3D splints to date have not is it is not brittle. It is not brittle. I'll give you guys a chance to see what it feels like, touch and feel it at body temperature. Here's 37C. You can see it softens and becomes much more pliable. I'd be happy to pass a couple around if you guys want to try them at body temperature. Sorry for how wet they are. Thank you, Sasha. The formula is abrasion resistant. It's easy to polish. We have a new polishing protocol on our website, including a polishing video that will help you understand the best way to polish and finish. It's easily cleaned by the patient. We have 3 years of shelf life. This is a big point, people. Most companies have 1 or 2 years of shelf life on their resin. Here we are giving you 3 years of guaranteed shelf life in order to work with the product appropriately in your lab. Long-term color stability is a big issue. It's been a problem with other splint material. Our material is very stable. And while a lot of people like to cure in an oxygen-free environment, our chemistries allow you to cure in an oxygen environment because we have no oxygen inhibition layer. Fully biocompatible, fully tested. We are incredibly rigorous about matching every printer and every cure box with this material to make sure it's safe and effective. So what you've got is clearance in Canada, Europe, Australia, and the US. Your approved applications in the US are mouthguard, night guards, and splints. EU and Canada have a couple additional applications that the FDA was uncomfortable with for this, and that includes some snoring devices for those markets. So just keep that in mind. You'll notice the IFUs are a little bit different because of the different clearances in different markets. We've got 2 versions of this product. We have a crystal clear version that we've optimized and partnered exclusively with Carbon for their M-Series printer. It's a tremendous printer. The throughput is unmatched. The service that Carbon provides is really the benchmark for people in 3D printing to be achieving. You can move a lot of material through this printer, and you will have throughput and an excellent product with all the efficiencies of 3D printing. We also have a tinted version, which I think we're passing around, that has a slight violet tint. This is for open source printers like Asiga, like SprintRay, like MeCraft, and several others. So wear expectancy. This is probably the #1 set of questions we get about the material. How long can I expect it to wear on the body? How does it relate to traditional materials? We commissioned an independent study, which I'll get to in a minute, that really assesses the key factors on the wear life expectancy of a splint. One is it's a resistance to volume loss or abrasion. Think about your sneaker tread as it wears down over time. Or you're resistant to fracture. Think about your sneaker tread when it breaks and breaks away from your shoe. Keysplint Soft has unbelievable fracture resistance. It has almost 48 joules per meter of fracture resistance. It's almost like our high impact denture base. And that's why it allows you to flex and not break that product, unlike you would see with traditional splints. So we commissioned a study through university. Dr. Mark Latta has been in industry and in academia for 30 years. He's got quite a portfolio of patents, patent abstracts, lectures, dozens of papers, very well established. And he ran through a pretty detailed wear assessment of Keysplint Soft. I usually hate to read PowerPoints to people. There's nothing more boring. But here I'm going to just read Dr. Latta's words. Keysplint Soft has the unique ability to change flexural properties over the temperature range of the indicated uses. The materials of body temperature are more pliable and as a result become more comfortable to wear and yet to maintain their shape outside the body, okay? These dynamic properties add a unique characteristic that should extend the life of the splint by preventing the degradation due to brittle fracture. What he has essentially concluded in his report is traditional splints, whether they're made by hand or previously 3D printed splints, suffer from, while they may be able to resist abrasion a little bit better than a soft splint material, they do not resist fracture, and you have very high failure rates that Keysplint Soft will solve. So we ran some tests. It's a kind of called the Leinfelder test. It's a grinding down test. We also compared it to other splint materials that have been tested before using the same methodology. And what you see here is even at double the cycles of 400,000 cycles, which is meant to simulate about 3 years of life in the body, you abraded at about the same volume, 1.3, 1.24, as you would see with some of these other materials at 200,000 cycles. So you've got a material that resists abrasion at least as well as most traditional materials, if not better. Now, some of these harder materials like Lucitone Clear or this thermoform splint, they resist abrasion better, but they suffer from the other problem, which is brittle fracture, okay? And Dr. Latta basically says, hey, the real key piece for Keysplint Soft is you will solve the problem of splints breaking in the mouth because of its impact resistance. So you've got a product that, at least from a qualitative standpoint, tests as well from a wear standpoint as anything else that's out there. All right, let's take a look at the workflow. For any 3D printing, that's really important. Design. You can design any way you want. ExoCAD, 3Shape. Your generally accepted splint design parameters apply with Keysplint Soft. We are pleased to announce that we've worked with 3Shape to have preset DME settings loaded into their software. Right now it's for Asiga and it's for Carbon, but we have our other printer partners working to optimize design parameters. So someone with an Asiga who uses a 3Shape will have the ability to didn't snap very well, to design pretty quickly like that, because you're gonna have preset parameters that you can work within. All right, let's talk about nesting and printing. All right, in the Carbon, the throughput is tremendous. You could probably nest between 8 to 10 splints. I've seen them do about 12 on the build plate. You can build an entire job in about 110 minutes in the Carbon. So it's a lot of throughput. In a day, it's probably about 50 splints if you have the business to be fully loaded. Asiga Max performs very well. We suggest nesting at a 35-degree angle for accuracy. And you got to have about a 165-minute print job. Sprint Ray Pro, which we've just announced our validation this week, so we're fully validated with Sprint Ray Pro for the workflow. For Keysplint Soft, we will have key guide and key tray probably done in the next week or so. Sprint Ray prints at 100 minutes. It's pretty quick. So for a printer that's priced at about $5,000 or so, you've got a really efficient system that's working for labs, and they're doing a lot of targeting in the clinical setting as well. All right, so for post-curing, for the Carbon system, they have a workflow that uses the 2 Dreve boxes. So we've done validation work to make sure the Keysplint Soft is working in that workflow. However, we've also taken the next steps for both our tinted version and for the Carbon version of testing some other very popular cure boxes that are out there to ensure you have choice, okay? People have different workflows. We are currently validating probably somewhere between 8 to 10 boxes for post-cure. And for this guy, the Uvitron, we're happy to announce that we have a partnership that we've announced with Uvatron. All of our resins are compatible and work with the Uvatron post-cure box. Uvatron is out of Boston. So we've made an arrangement with them that if our customers have a promo code, and you can get the details from our sales team that's here today, with the promo code, you can go to Uvatron and get a box that works with all of our materials, okay? You put your head on your pillow at night to know you've got a really good workflow that works, and you'll get 10% off the purchase price from Uvatron by using our promo code. Cleaning and maintenance. If you're a splint or a night guard user, the way you clean and maintain your current splints is the same way you would do this. So soap and warm water or something like Effordent works quite well. We would recommend you take it out when you eat or drink. We'd also recommend do not drink with hot water. The unique modulus and properties of this product means that if you go up above 45 degrees Celsius, you run the risk of warping the product. So if you're gonna drink something hot, just take it out, put it back in when you're done. You can use a brief steam cleaning. It works very well, actually. All right, let's talk dollars and cents for a minute. And this is a real value to the labs and the doctors. All right, so your workflow efficiencies in making splints have evolved over time. You started with having to do salt and pepper or hand making splints. To make one device could take you hours. The quality of the device is good, but there's no throughput, no efficiency to the lab. Thermal forming has come along and improved the efficiency. The quality of the materials may not be as good as some traditional splint or even some 3D printed splints, but the workflow works very well and is very well established. We do quite a bit of business. I think last year we sold over 750,000 night guard and splint sheets for thermal forming just in North America alone. So we do a lot of business here. We know this space. We think it's good, but we think that 3D printing can be even more efficient. So with the digital revolution, you have a couple options. You got milling splints. So you have plenty of people milling PMMA splints. The big issue is you can probably only get 1 or 2 splints out of a puck. So you lack throughput again. As compared to 3D printing, you just won't get there. You also have some issues with brittleness with some of these materials. And then you've got 3D printing with Keysplint Soft, which is the highest evolution of the manufacturing of night guards and splints. All right, we're going to use the carbon system as a model, but let's be clear. The Sega, Sprintway, this is just math, people, okay? So there's assumptions built in here. If your math is a little different, make an adjustment in your head so you can see it. We've assumed $4.25 is MSRP for a bottle. In the carbon system, to do the whole workflow will take you about 245 minutes to do a print job. Let's assume you're paying your lab staff 25 bucks an hour. Maybe it's 18, maybe it's 20, whatever it is, do the math in your head. A waste factor per bottle, somewhere between 12 or 15% between supports and residual goo that's on the part. Let's assume you're selling from the lab to the doctor at $100. I think that might be low, but let's assume it for here that your selling price from the lab to the doc is $100. Your fully loaded labor and material cost at 10 splints per day is 24 bucks per splint. If you're increasing your volume up to 40 splints a day, you have labor savings. So you're down to about $16 to $17 per part. That yields a profit to you of somewhere between $75 and $83 per part if you're selling at $100 per lab. So on the next slide, I call it 80, okay? And then we do a breakdown of the profit per build plate, per day, per week, per year. And at the end of the day, even with the carbon system, which everybody here knows is not inexpensive, but even with the carbon system, there's an extreme amount of profit built into those users by adopting Keysplint Soft and using this workflow. Let's look at it even more generically, all right? So this is the slide. Like I could have skipped everything else probably and get to this slide. At an assumed profit of $80 per part, which might be low, okay? You're gonna get at an 8 grams per splint and a 12% waste factor. The math's gonna yield out about 110 parts. If you're making a thicker splint and assume a bigger waste factor, let's assume it's 85 parts. You're generally getting between $6,800 and close to $9,000 of profit per bottle to the lab. Let's say that again very slowly. Somewhere between $6,000 and $9,000 of profit per bottle by selling the splints. If you buy a Sprint Ray for $5,000, you can buy 2 with 1 bottle of Keysplint Soft, okay? I'm afraid to even show you what Colin's gonna show you if you're a doctor and you're not using the lab and you're like Dr. Owen. How much you charging for a regular splint, Dr. Owen? 2,000 with adjustments? What if it just goes in and it's clean? 800. Okay, you do the math. You do the math. Dr. Owen is putting his kids through college with Keysplint Soft. Well done. This is a win for everyone. Lab, doctor, patient, printer partner, Keystone, dealer. Everybody wins with Keysplint Soft, and there is nothing else out there like it. So we're very excited. It's been very gratifying to create a product that has changed the way people are doing their business. And it's one thing for me to stand up here and tell you this, because what am I going to say? It stinks? No, that's not what I'm going to say. But let's see what the marketplace has to say about it. So here's what the users are saying. You can believe what they have to say. The praise is effusive. People are changing the way they're building their practices. Orthodontic labs are adopting it and eliminating other workflows, and they're building entire businesses around it. Just last week, look, I worked on the presentation a week ago. Just last week, I was on our Facebook page, and someone threw up the question, hey, anybody using Keysplint Soft? Anybody have any feedback? And it was off the charts. Awesome product. Love using this resin. Nothing but positive things to say about it. Prints like a charm. Fits perfectly. Best material I've ever seen. Okay? These are people who are adopting and using this every day in their workflow, and it's so gratifying. Trust me, we get the other phone calls on products too, okay? This isn't working. What's wrong with you guys? You're nudniks, okay? We don't get this with Keysplint Soft. People are thrilled. We are changing the way labs, doctors, and patients are dealing with bruxism, TMJ, and splint therapies. So we're really happy to bring this to the marketplace. We're really happy to be helping people change the way they practice dentistry. Next month, we will have released our custom tray material for custom impression trays, Key Tray. It is very strong, it is very durable, but it's got some good flex to it so that when you're trying to take the tray out of the patient's mouth after doing the impression, you're not going to snap the handle off. Works very well, validated in all of our workflows. The MSRP on this product, I think, is going to be $235 per bottle. So it's a really good tray material. Keystone sells a number of things in the workflow that you might also consider, like tray adhesive compound, tray release spray, several different impression materials. We have a intro kit. So most of our resins are sold in 1 kilogram bottles. We are having an intro kit for the lab resins that are at ½ kilogram. So for example, if perfect is the new Sprint Ray users who want to try and figure out if they like Keyprint, but they don't want to buy whole kilograms, they can just buy the intro kit, get 4 different ½ kilograms, figure out if you like it, get off the learning curve easily before you start producing at volume. We have a polishing set of polishing compounds and processes that we're going to assemble in a kit. Keysplint Soft does require a little bit of a special process to get your optimized polished results. At the end of the day, using these materials and our protocol, which you can find on our website along with a video, will allow you to get a very high shine polish on the Keysplint Soft material. Every one of these items that you need in the workflow, you can get from Keystone. And we will put together a kit to make this dummy-proof and a bit of a layup. So that is coming. Oops. All right, so we have several materials that are working their way through development. We expect most of these materials to be available in the next 12 months. They're at various stages. It's always a little dangerous to show people what you're working on and telling about, but none of these will be a big surprise. So Keysplint Heart should be ready in the next couple months. We're in our final stages of testing and going to FDA. We will use the learnings of our experience on Keysplint Soft to hopefully streamline this process and get through the process more efficiently. It'll also then go to Europe, Canada, Australia, same sort of a regulatory strategy. We have our Keyprint denture base, which is really nice, very aesthetic. That is working its way through its testing and probably be submitted to the FDA in the next couple months. It also comes with the teeth. We're working on a temporary crown and bridge material. This one's really interesting. There's a few pretty good temporary crown and bridge materials out there from our competitors. We're going to try and do as nice as they have done. And we think we have something that's going to be really interesting in that space. We are working on an indirect bonding tray. This should be ready soon. It's actually in testing. Hopefully we got one for you to take a look at today. And we've got some more exciting stuff coming, from denture try-ins to some really advanced, interesting projects that unfortunately I can't share with you in an open microphone in the middle of the Chicago trade shows. But Keystone's working on some really advanced things that will be completely innovative along the line of Keystone Soft that'll change the way people are working in certain applications and products. We are constantly working on validations. We have a very rigorous validation protocol. If you're going to be an open source printing company, you have to have a really smart approach to making sure whichever printer and cure box you're using, that you get an apple to apple to apple end result coming out of the product. A splint coming out of a sprint ray has to perform the same way as a splint coming out of the carbon, the same way it's got to perform coming out of a Meatcraft, the same way it's got to perform coming out of an Accuretta. We have benchmarks for physical properties, biocompatibility, cytotox, monomer extraction. It's a rigorous process. It takes us a long time. It's expensive, but it's worth doing to do it right. So here's our current validation list. We have some really interesting stuff to announce, both at this show and over the next week or two. Sprint Ray's fully validated with Keystone Soft in their workflow, including their Sprint Ray post-cure box. We have Key Guide and Key Tray that'll also be validated in that box within a week or two. The Accuretta FreeShape is a small LED printer. It's about $3,000 at retail. The light engine for an LED is not as strong as you will see in some DLP printers, but it will print. It will take a little bit longer, but you'll get a good result coming out of the Accuretta printer. Rapid Shape is a fantastic printer out of Germany. They have a great presence in Europe. They're still trying to figure out how to do penetrating the US market a little bit better. The machine is excellent. The results are excellent. We believe we'll be in a position to announce validation with Keystone Soft in a couple weeks with them, and all of our materials will be validated in the Rapid Shape. So look for the news on Rapid Shape over the next 4 to 6 weeks. We've got a few additional partnerships that are on the cusp of being announced. We're doing a better job of getting out there on social media, LinkedIn, of trying to keep people apprised. A couple of these announcements will be really interesting, including some news with respect to EnvisionTech. So we've got some cool stuff coming with new partners, new materials, new cure boxes. We're looking constantly at printers, cure boxes, and materials all the time. And we're very committed to developing things that will change the way labs and doctors practice and experience digital dentistry. The cow is out of the barn. It is here. It is not going backwards. You can ignore what's happening with digital dentistry, and you can regret it 3 years from now. People have to start looking at this technology and understanding how to adopt it, even if it's in small bites. If you don't want to do design, figure out how to do fabrication. If you don't want to do fabrication, figure out how to outsource that. But start to figure out how you adopt and utilize digital dental technologies within your practice, whether it's a doctor or a lab. Sticking your head in the sand isn't going to get you where you want to be as the industry changes. So with that, I want to thank everybody for their time. Any questions, please let us know, whether it's this setting, whether it's afterwards. If you want to email us or email me, please feel free. We're very happy to engage. My email is iRosenau@KeystoneIn.com. Hit me up. We'll be happy to help you. Our team is very knowledgeable. Feel free to reach out to them. And anything anybody needs with respect to any of these projects, please let us know. So thank you very much for the time.